ladies. Let me tell you something real today. When a man is truly scared to lose you, his actions will speak louder than his lips ever could. A man might not always say it out loud, but if he starts doing certain things, it's because deep down he knows your presence is a blessing. And the thought of losing you shakes him to his core. When a man is truly scared to lose you, his behavior changes in ways that speak louder than any words ever could. You don't always need to hear him say, "I'm afraid of losing you," because his actions will scream it without him saying a word. A man who realizes your value and starts to feel that you might not always be there, that he might lose the peace, the love, and the energy you bring into his life, begins to respond in a way that's different from what you may have seen before. He'll start doing little things that mean a whole lot. Maybe before he didn't check in as much or didn't notice the small details, but suddenly he's remembering the coffee you like, the way you want to be held, the kind of encouragement you need when you're feeling down. That's not just love, that's awareness. That's fear kicking in. That's the realization that you're not just someone he likes having around, you're someone he can't picture life without. He might start asking more questions, trying to learn more about your feelings, your fears, your needs, your plans. He'll suddenly seem more interested in your mood, more invested in your comfort. That's because something in him has clicked. He's realized you're rare. And when a man realizes that the woman he has in his life is not just good, but great, and could walk away at any moment if not treated right, that fear of loss hits different. A man who's scared to lose you might even step into uncomfortable spaces emotionally. He'll start to let his guard down. The man who always played it cool, who never wanted to talk about feelings, who stayed surface level, he'll start telling you about his insecurities, his trauma, his childhood, the things that shaped him, not because he suddenly became a therapist, but because he knows that emotional distance creates physical distance, and he's trying to close the gap. He's scared to let silence build a wall between you. When he begins to talk about the future, not just in vague terms, but with real substance like us, we, our. That's a man trying to secure his place in your life. He's not just fantasizing, he's strategizing. He's trying to see if he's still in your plan, and if not, how he can get there. You might even start saying things like, "I know I haven't always gotten it right, but I'm working on it." That's not just an apology. That's fear speaking. Fear that he hasn't done enough. Fear that you're slipping through his fingers. Fear that someone else might come along and give you what he failed to. You'll also notice a shift in how he handles your silence. If you go quiet for a while or don't respond like you used to and he starts to panic, that's a sign. A man who's scared to lose you will not rest easy in your distance. He'll reach out, try to reconnect, even apologize. Maybe not perfectly, but earnestly. He might even show up in ways he never did before. Because that silence, it triggers something in him. It forces him to sit with the possibility of a life without you. And sometimes that silence does more damage than shouting ever could. Men don't always express fear with words. A lot of times it shows in their effort. He starts trying to become the man he thinks you deserve. He'll read books, change habits, talk to people he trusts, seek advice. He'll ask himself, what can I do better? And the truth is, when a man starts to fix things in his life, not because you told him to, but because he wants to, that's not just growth, it's urgency. He feels time is running out, that maybe he wasted too much already, that maybe you won't wait forever. Sometimes that fear shows up as jealousy too. He starts noticing other men looking at you differently. He becomes more protective, more aware. He's not trying to control you. He's trying to guard what he now sees as priceless. Because nothing wakes a man up like the idea that someone else might treat you better, might see what he's taken for granted, might give you the consistency, the love, the emotional maturity you've been waiting for. And even in silence, even when he doesn't say it outright, the fear is there. It's in the way he looks at you a little longer, holds you a little tighter, listens a little more. It's in the way he finally starts showing appreciation for things you've always done that you used to overlook. Suddenly your presence becomes precious, not just something he enjoys, but something he can't imagine losing. You'll also see it in how he handles accountability. A man who is scared to lose you won't run from hard conversations. He'll lean in. He might fumble. He might get defensive at first. He's human. But eventually he'll come back with understanding. Because when a man wants to keep you, he'll humble himself. Pride takes a back seat to love when fear of loss is real. It doesn't mean he'll become perfect. No man ever will. But he'll try, really try. And that's what sets him apart. That's how you know he's scared to lose you, not because he says he is, but because he shows you. He puts effort behind his words. He brings consistency behind his promises. He moves with purpose. He listens not just to reply, but to understand. Because a man who is terrified of losing a woman will do everything in his power to make her feel secure, protected, valued, and loved. If you're seeing that change in him, if you're seeing him act different, not just once, but day after day, it's not random. It's real. It's fear. Not the kind that makes a man run away, but the kind that makes a man step up. Because he knows that losing you wouldn't just hurt, it would haunt him. When a man is genuinely afraid of losing you, it doesn't always come with grand speeches or dramatic gestures. Sometimes it shows up in the quiet shifts, in the effort he begins to put in without being asked, in the way he starts showing up differently. Fear of losing someone you love deeply doesn't always look like panic. It often looks like growth. It's in how he suddenly becomes more present, more tuned in, more invested in what matters to you. Because the truth is, when a man starts seeing that your love, your loyalty, your energy aren't guaranteed forever, he begins to understand he can't afford to take them for granted any longer. He might not be the best with words, and maybe he never was, but you'll see it in how he starts paying closer attention. Things you said in passing weeks ago, things he would usually brush off. Suddenly he remembers. Suddenly he's bringing you what you need without you asking. He's solving problems before they happen. That's because something has awakened in him. That realization that losing you isn't just a risk, it's a real possibility if he doesn't handle you with care. He might start asking deeper questions about your needs, your thoughts, your boundaries. Maybe in the past you felt like your voice didn't matter or that your emotions were too much for him, but now he listens longer. He asks follow-up questions. He wants to understand, not just react. That's not coincidence. That's fear working in the background. The fear of not being the man you need and the fear of someone else stepping in to be that man. A man scared to lose you will shift from being reactive to proactive. Instead of waiting until you're distant to ask what's wrong, he's checking in regularly. Instead of assuming everything is okay, he's making sure you feel okay. That's emotional maturity wrapped in fear. He doesn't want to wait until it's too late. He's seen the warning signs, maybe from you pulling away a little, maybe from realizing he hasn't been giving enough, and now he's trying to get ahead of it. One of the clearest signs is when he begins to show vulnerability, especially if he's the type who never did before. Men are taught to hide their emotions, to stay composed, to never let the world see them sweat. But when a man is scared to lose you, that armor starts to fall. He might open up about things he's never told anyone. He might share his past, his fears, his regrets, his mistakes, not because he wants pity, but because he wants connection. He knows that if he doesn't let you in emotionally, he might lose you mentally and spiritually. And once that emotional disconnect starts, it's hard to get back. You'll also see this fear show up in how he begins to take ownership. A man who doesn't care will always blame others, deflect, avoid accountability. But a man who's afraid of losing a good woman will begin to look in the mirror. He'll admit where he messed up. He'll stop making excuses and start making effort. He might say things like, I know I didn't handle that right, or I need to do better. And if you've been dealing with a man who previously never admitted when he was wrong, this shift is major. It's the fear of losing you shaking him out of his ego. There's also a shift in how he prioritizes you. Maybe before everything else came first, work, friends, hobbies, distractions. But now you start to notice that he makes time. He puts his phone down. He's not too busy. He cancels plans to be with you. He starts including you in decisions, not because he's obligated to, but because he values your input. That's a man realizing your presence in his life is not something he wants to risk losing over temporary things. Another way this fear shows up is through protection, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. He wants to shield you from stress, from drama, from anything that might hurt you. He starts stepping in when others cross the line. He defends your name when you're not in the room. He uplifts you when you doubt yourself. That's not just love. That's a man fully aware that if he doesn't protect what he cherishes, he could lose it forever. He might even start asking about your dreams, your goals, your purpose. He'll want to know how he can support you. He'll push you to grow, to chase what sets your soul on fire. A man who's scared to lose you doesn't just love who you are, he falls in love with who you're becoming, and he wants to be part of that journey. That fear of losing you makes him more attentive to the role he plays in your evolution. He wants to be your partner, not your obstacle. Sometimes that fear can also make him frustrated with himself. He might say, why didn't I realize this sooner? Or, I should have done this from the beginning. You'll see that inner conflict. He's not mad at you, he's mad at himself for not doing what he should have done when he had all your attention, all your love, and all your trust. And that internal war he's having, that's proof he knows what he has to lose. The real shift comes when his love is no longer about convenience. It becomes commitment. You'll feel that energy. You'll feel his presence even in his silence. He won't ghost you, won't breadcrumb you, won't play mind games. Because a man who's scared to lose you is done with the games. He's done with the pride. He's done with pretending like your absence wouldn't leave a permanent gap in his life. You'll know by the way he shows up. Not once, but consistently, by the way he listens, by the way he changes, not for a week, not for a month, but as a lifestyle, because he realizes that a woman like you doesn't come around often. And he finally understands that losing you wouldn't just hurt, it would change him. It would leave a mark that no one else could erase. So he does what he has to do to keep you. Not out of fear of being alone, but out of fear of living without you. That's the kind of fear that turns a man into the version of himself he should have been all along. When a man realizes he's on the verge of losing a woman who truly matters to him, everything inside of him begins to shift. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's quiet. But if you look closely, you'll see the change. You'll feel it in the way he talks, the way he walks around you, the way he touches your hand like he's trying to hold on to something slipping through his fingers. That fear, it humbles him. Because when a man has something real and he knows he's close to losing it, his pride starts to disappear. He starts showing up without being asked. He begins to anticipate your needs, not because you reminded him again and again, but because now he wants to. Now he pays attention. Now he cares about the details because he's realized that the smallest things can become the biggest reasons why someone stays or why someone leaves. He starts texting good morning more regularly. He checks in. He sends you songs that remind him of you, and he doesn't do it to impress you. He does it because the silence between you has become too loud. That silence scares him now. A man who's scared to lose you will start healing parts of himself he never bothered to look at before. He starts working on his communication. He listens more instead of just waiting for his turn to speak. When you talk about what's bothering you, he doesn't just brush it off anymore. He wants to understand, not just so he can fix the problem, but so you don't walk away feeling unheard, because now he knows that emotional neglect can be louder than any argument. He starts respecting your time. If he says he'll call, he calls. If he says he's going to show up, he's there. And if he can, he explains. He doesn't vanish. He doesn't leave you wondering, because he knows now that confusion can cost him your heart. He used to think being busy was a good excuse, but now he understands that no one's too busy for someone they're scared to lose. Fear brings focus. It makes him rearrange his priorities. He starts to recognize that you're not just a part of his life. You're the peace, the balance, the grounding force he doesn't want to go without. He'll even go to war with himself, the parts of him that are selfish, the parts that are stubborn, the parts that once pushed you away. He begins to change, not to manipulate you, not to win you back with empty promises, but because he's been shaken awake. He finally sees what he has. And the thought of watching you walk away and into someone else's life, into someone else's arms, into someone else's future, it terrifies him. You'll notice he starts being more present in the moment. He puts his phone down when you're together. He starts looking at you with a softness in his eyes that wasn't always there, because now he's studying you, appreciating the little things he once overlooked, the way you smile, the way you talk about your passions, the way you carry yourself even when the world gets heavy. All those things he used to be too distracted to notice have become the very things he's afraid to live without. Sometimes that fear makes him uncomfortable. You might see him wrestling with himself. You might see him wanting to say something but holding back, because he's not used to feeling this deeply. He's used to being in control. But now he's vulnerable. And for some men, vulnerability is a foreign language. But he tries. That effort, that stumble toward growth. It's not weakness. It's love. It's fear of losing someone who made him feel seen for the first time in a long time. And God, he begins to value your silence differently too. If you stop talking as much, if you pull back, he doesn't just ignore it like he used to. Now he asks what's wrong. Now he pays attention to what you're not saying. He realizes that silence from a woman like you isn't random, it's a warning. And he doesn't want to ignore the signs anymore. He understands that distance isn't always physical. Sometimes it starts emotionally, and by the time it becomes obvious, it's too late. That thought keeps him up now. And maybe he's not perfect. Maybe he still has flaws and slips up sometimes. But you'll notice he bounces back faster. He doesn't stay stuck in pride. He doesn't wait days to apologize. He owns it. He checks himself, because he knows every misstep could cost him the one person he never wanted to lose. That fear isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's him finally seeing the difference between having you and keeping you. When a man starts treating your love like it's not promised, that's when you know he's scared. Scared of the day you stop trying. Scared of the moment you stop loving him out loud. Scared of waking up one day and realizing someone else gets to call you mine. And that fear, it changes everything. Let me know when you want to expand forward. When a man is truly scared to lose you, the energy around him shifts. You don't need to be told directly. His actions begin to show it clearly. That fear becomes a silent force driving him to reassess how he shows up in your life. It's not about desperation or begging. It's about him finally waking up to what he stands to lose. And that realization hits hard when he looks back at all the times he could have loved you better, all the moments he didn't realize were slipping through his hands. He may start reflecting more than you've ever seen before. Suddenly he's quiet, deep in thought, trying to understand where things started to go wrong. He replays old conversations in his mind, not just listening to what you said, but trying to feel what you must have felt. That's the kind of fear that goes deeper than surface regret. It becomes personal. He starts holding himself accountable in private long before he brings those apologies to you in public. Because when he's scared to lose you, he knows words are empty without action, and action is meaningless without sincerity. You'll notice that he starts valuing time differently. Every moment with you feels more important to him. Even small things like sitting together, running errands, or watching a show, he starts treating those moments like gold. That's not an act. That's him realizing those everyday moments could be memories soon if he doesn't do something to change the direction things are heading. The way he holds your hand, the way he looks at you across the room, even the way he says your name, it all starts carrying more weight because he knows he might not always get to do it. And the interesting thing is, fear of losing you doesn't just make him love you harder. It also makes him love himself better. He starts working on the parts of him that sabotage love, the anger, the ego, the detachment, the distractions. He begins to address them not just for you, but because he doesn't want to be the reason you leave. That's growth. Not because someone forced him into it, but because the fear of losing someone who sees the good in him makes him want to finally live up to that image. He starts becoming more emotionally generous. Maybe he wasn't always open before. Maybe he kept things inside and acted like everything was fine. But now you hear him expressing feelings more often. You hear him say things like, "I don't want to lose you," or "You mean more to me than I know how to say." And it's not that he suddenly became a poet. It's that he's done hiding how much you matter. He can't afford to anymore. The cost of being silent is too high when silence starts to feel like distance and distance starts to feel like goodbye. You may also see him become more consistent. The man who used to disappear for days without checking in now makes an effort every day. The one who used to brush off your concerns now listens patiently. He becomes steady, grounded, more reliable, not because he changed overnight, but because the thought of you walking away changed his perspective. He knows that inconsistency breeds doubt, and doubt is dangerous when you're holding on to something precious. Fear also humbles a man in powerful ways. He may come to you with tears, with truth, with vulnerability he never showed before. You'll hear things like, "I didn't know what I had," or "I should have done better." Those moments aren't manipulation. They're the raw truth of someone who finally understands the value of what he was close to losing. And sometimes those moments don't come with perfect timing. They come late. But they come from a real place, from a place where love finally won the battle against pride. And it's not just about what he does for you, it's also about what he stops doing. He stops playing games, stops making you guess how he feels, stops holding back affection, stops letting his fears of commitment or past hurt ruin what's right in front of him. That fear makes him simplify everything. He becomes clearer, more direct, more emotionally available, because now he understands the danger of letting confusion live in a relationship that's already hanging by a thread. You might notice he becomes more protective of the bond you share. He stops letting outside influences dictate how he treats you. Friends, distractions, bad habits, they all start to fade into the background because he's no longer trying to live without you. He's trying to live with you, grow with you, and protect what he almost lost. That fear becomes the fuel behind every effort, every change, every confession. There's also a quiet sadness in his eyes sometimes, a softness you haven't seen before. That sadness doesn't mean he's giving up. It means he's realizing what he stands to lose, and it's heavy on his heart. He might not always say the perfect thing, but he'll say something. He might not always get it right, but he'll try again tomorrow. And that's what fear does. It drives a man to show up even when he's unsure, to keep choosing you even when the road gets rocky, to keep trying even when he's tired. That fear becomes the start of transformation, not because he was forced to, but because losing you became the one thing he couldn't bear to let happen. Let me know if you'd like a YouTube or Instagram version of this speech.